Okay. All right. So questions. Who has questions? Okay. Are you going to discuss partnership and joint venture in the real estate deals? Yeah, we've discussed that. We can continue to have that discussion. Is there an area you want to talk about? We just talked about being the lender. Um, Partnerships and joint ventures in real estate really come down to, like anything else, the needs of both parties. So if you're, and we can talk about that tonight. That's not a bad thing to talk about. Okay, so here, let's talk about that. All right. So, is there anybody else that has any questions or anything they want to talk about? Because looks like we're going to talk about partnerships. We talked about lending a little bit, and we talked a little bit about partnerships too last week. We can continue in that. Is there a specific area that you wanted to talk about? How to see? How to? You might have to give me a little bit more than the letter C. What's the best way to find financing for commercial apartments? Okay. Know the market value of a property. Okay. Okay. So easiest thing I can tell you about the easiest way to get the value of a property in a particular area. There's two ways to do it. The less expensive way is to ask your realtor for comparables. Okay, so comparables, and what they'll do is they'll take a series of houses um, in a particular area. So they'll look at the houses in an area, and what they'll do from sale prices, recent sale prices of similar properties, they'll give you a value of that property. That's all it is, really. That's what they're doing. Okay, so it's not complicated, but they have the information that's accessible to them. I'm starting to see realtors want to charge for that. That's something you can work out with your realtor. Um, for them to do comparables, which really is not a big deal for them to do. It's relatively easy. But if they want to charge for the service, you can do that. You can work something out that makes sense to you if you find it valuable, and comparables can be valuable for sure. But typically, when you build a relationship with your realtor, it's not a big deal for them to do that. The other one that we can do, obviously, is we are doing now appraisal. So appraisal, okay. So appraisal is gonna, for a single family home, you're looking at, in the range of zero to $300 max. For commercial, you're looking, it could be 1,000, to even 1,500, depending on the property and what you're looking for. Now, if you're getting a loan from an institution, typically they'll do the appraisal for you at no cost. But if you're appraising a property ahead of time before financing, it's residential. You could pay, $300 is, not crazy, for residential. For commercial, it's a different story. It's a much more in-depth analysis, and the appraiser that's licensed to be an appraiser, it's important to them that they're accurate. You are going to take that to a lender as a valid appraisal, so there is some value in having them. Sellers might have the recent appraisals that you can use as a way of getting a comparable or an idea of the value of the property. The biggest thing I'll tell you in reference to comparables, value of property, the biggest thing I can tell you is, assess it from the idea of income, the income that it produces. If it's a flip, that's a different story. Or rehab, you're trying to get the after repair value. I can understand that you want to be accurate, as accurate as that. But even with the appraisal, we're always gonna recognize that the market conditions change and move, and the appraisal value can shift. So we're not going to expect to flip a property and sell it the retail appraised value, close to, but not at it. So pulling something back, 5% or 10%, could be a safe move to ensure that you're not being trapped into a property that's been overvalued, or the market shifts. So that is market value of a property. Does that work for you? Does that answer your question? How to find? Okay, great. Okay, so let's back up. We're gonna back up for a second. So we're going to we'll talk about the partnerships. We'll get into that with joint venture. What's the best way to find financing for commercial apartments? So when you say that commercial apartments, do you mean multiple units or one unit? Because one unit would be considered residential. Do you mean multiple units? Renee, for that, what's the best way to finance commercial property? Is that what you're asking? Apartment building. Okay, best thing you're gonna do with that is you're gonna see a mortgage broker. That's the best thing you're gonna do. You're always gonna start, folks. Always start with conventional financing, and then to see where you're at. And in finding conventional financing, if it doesn't meet the needs, which it can. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Obviously, conventional financing typically is going to be lower cost in the way of interest. Not that can is going to stop us from doing a deal, but I would rather you first reach out to your mortgage broker, tell them the situation, and start to understand what his lenders or her lenders are, what they're requiring, and of course that's the opportunity to seek out private hard money, that kind of money. And of course, there's RSP money, right? There's money that's available through RSPs when set up properly. So first place I'd always tell you to do is talk to your mortgage broker about creative and non-creative financing. That would be the thing to do for commercial. Obviously, you can, in the vein of joint venture, we can obviously bring other people involved in it. We're going to do that. We're going to do that. We're going to talk about that a little bit tonight of what you can offer. Obviously, if you guys have deals or opportunities you want to share with the group, I'm going to let you do that. I will at the end when we're done to exchange information. The quality of the deal is going to dictate a lot of that, and connecting the dots really comes down to finding a property that's profitable and willing to share the wealth. That's really what it is with someone else, and then it's quite easy to attract money. There's lots of money everywhere, so there is an opportunity to do that. Does that answer your question, Renee? You good? Good. Okay, so percentage of profit sharing and partnership. Okay, that's that. We'll leave that for a moment. Okay, because that's going to be in the question of joint ventures. I've been asked why we don't put property in our personal name and get liability insurance instead of putting it into own corporation. They said there are some advantages to doing it that way. Is there a specific problem with doing that way? So Timothy, putting a property, so residential properties are not going to be a huge risk to you. They're not going to be a huge risk to you in the way of liability when it's residential. When you get into commercial, the liability, Timothy, it spikes, especially environmental issues or environmental challenges with the property, the land. That would be a serious problem that would go far and beyond what you're insured for, because obviously you're going to get commercial insurance too. The other advantage or reason those can be good from us, is the ability to take advantage of the tax benefits, and obviously there is a separation of liability. It's difficult to measure insurance before it actually works for you. It's a question of, I guess, sleeping better at night. But you can put a property, like putting single properties in your own name with conventional insurance. Typically, you're going to be covered. Obviously, we're doing that in the way of liability, trying to make us somewhat bulletproof to any sort of challenges of somebody challenging us in a lawsuit and going after our personal stuff. So I can totally understand where you're getting that feedback. Commercial, definitely you want to do it, and of course, future and building up a portfolio, it can get dicey when you have multiple properties in your own name. So, just there's totally I totally understand where it's coming from, and I think that for us, most of us, we want to build a portfolio over time, and we don't really want to worry about the liability. There is a cost, but obviously that's a write-off, and the tax benefits, I would say, it is a huge plus. Okay. All right. How to find investors interested in wholesaling. Okay, so how to find investors interested in wholesaling. Yes. Can we talk about raising capital from investors from RSP? Yeah, we can talk about that. Heard from tax specialists there needs a specific form filed by the lawyers to be eligible. Is that pricey and first of all correct? Okay, I'll come back to that question. Are we going to find the property that was not an MLS system that we can buy in a cheaper price? Are we going to find the property that was not on MLS system that we can buy? Okay, I think I understand what you're saying. I'll come back to that. So let's back up. Okay, so let's talk about how do we find investors interested in wholesaling? Okay, so I would say that everybody on this call is interested in a wholesale deal. I think wholesaling is more prevalent, more common with other investors. It could be for end users if you know somebody's looking for a property. I think the bigger question is obviously if you come across a deal, like I said, I'll share it with the group. The other thing is I'd rather you look for people who are looking for types of properties and then find those properties. Let the buyers drive that. In the interim, though, I would tell you that this would be your best place right now is to when you come across those deals, share it with the group, and I'll be happy to share that. And I'll tell you, everybody on this call would be open to looking at a good deal, right, and paying for it. If it makes sense, I don't think you're going to have a problem. Not every wholesale deal is going to pan out for you. That's okay. I think that the advantage of wholesale is obviously not having the liability, any liability really, or any requirement of down payment, or getting pre-approved. There's a lot of advantages to it. So I would tell you that's what we should do. Is there a particular website for publishing deals? Is that what you mean? Okay, so this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to share a site with you. Some of you have used it. You know what? Let me get back to you on that. I'm making another site. I know I have one site. I'm making a site for you guys, my people, just my people. When I say that, I mean us. Where you're only connecting with each other. I'm going to do that. I'm going to create a separate site just for you guys. Website that you guys can connect with. I'm meeting with a web designer guy this week. Hopefully that in the coming this quarter, we can get something up. So other than that, I would tell you using conventional sites like Facebook, Kijiji, Craigslist, that would be a way to publicize that. Yeah. No problem. I've been trying to find people to do this. I'm just gonna bite the bullet and get a pro to do it because it's pretty complex what I'm asking them to do, and it's worth it to get it up and running. So I was just talking to a business colleague that's doing the same thing, who's already done it, and I'm gonna connect with him. So that's gonna be good. Okay, so let's go here. Can we talk about raising capital for investors in RSP? Yeah, Emmanuel, can you is there an area you want to talk about specifically? If you can, write something in, that'd be great. Heard from tax specialists there needs to be special form filled out by the lawyers to be eligible. What does that mean? I don't know what that means either. In the price, is that pricey? First of all, correct. What do you mean a special form? RSP to registered is registered. Yeah, RSP is registered. Is that what you're talking about for RSPs? Is that what you mean, Emmanuel? Therefore, need to be approved by government. What needs to be approved? Yeah, let's say an investor has 400K in an RSP. Apparently, they need to be approved by filing in a form to invest cash in real estate. So, Emmanuel, the forms that your friend or your lawyer is talking about, yeah. So yeah, there is absolutely, it's a real estate deal, right? And because it's your RSP, which you're totally eligible to do with your RSP, there's a process that goes through lawyers actually, that take care of the deal. That it has to be vetted. The deal has to be vetted. It has to be real, obviously. It can't be a hole in the ground. Now there are companies that do all that stuff for you. That if you're interested in doing that, I mentioned them before. I can mention one to Emmanuel that you can look at. Olympia Trust. So everybody, you can check out Olympia Trust if you're looking at RSPs. But these are guys that actually, this is one of the services they provide, and second, here we go. Okay. Let me give you a link. Corporate shareholder service registered clients for T, FSAs, foreign exchange, RSP support center. Let me see. Hold on one second. Trust company, maybe that's the one. Non-depository trust. It's the same company. You know what? Let's do this. I have my guy coming in next week. He'll talk about RSPs. Let's save it for him. Olympia Trust is one of the companies that does it. He works with a bunch of companies, Emmanuel, that do that kind of stuff. Now this is the thing with RSPs. We're looking at for RSPs. RSPs and using, setting up the RSP, the lending for RSPs. So there's a couple companies in Canada that do that. I'm sure there's more than a couple, but just for the point of Emmanuel saying about documentation and stuff like that. So the thing you have to recognize, folks, is the major banks aren't going to do that kind of RSP stuff. They used to. They don't anymore. I believe it was a question of profitability for them and the value for the banks to offer that to you. Now, the Canadian government allows you to lend money from your RSPs for real estate, to be a mortgager. So what we'll do is my financial advisor and mortgage broker guy, he's coming next week. He's amazing at all this stuff. He'll talk about the RSPs and places you can go, and he'll give you links that you can check that out. But considering your question, Emmanuel, about documentation and things that have to be written out, stuff and approved, companies do all that stuff for you. There's a cost. There's a cost for doing a RSP deal. There's a cost for sure. So, it definitely is something you want to measure, to make sure the value is there for you. But absolutely, it's a practice that's in practice. So we'll definitely follow up with that next week. Okay. Cost is nothing compared to the interest it'll give them. Yeah, if it's the right amount, I'll tell you, if you were lending 5 grand, it probably wouldn't be a good idea, right? But if you're talking about 400K, definitely that's something worth doing. Yeah, for sure. Okay, so we're gonna reserve that for next week. Um, okay, so let's go down here. Where are we gonna find properties that are not MLS? So, so finding properties that are non-MLS listed. That's the question, right? That's what we're talking about, right? Sergio, you there? Okay. Okay. So where are some of the places that we can find uh non or non-MLS properties? So you guys tell me. I'm sure you guys have done it. We can do this together. So tell me some of the places. Somebody type something that they've seen or um, they know of that they can find non-listed properties. There's lots. Go ahead. You guys know them. Tell me some properties. Tell me some places. Sorry, some easy places. Kijiji. Yep, there's one. Yep. What else? More than that. Facebook, Craigslist, New Brunswick, PropertyGuys.com. Okay. Realtor, yeah, non-listed. They could give you a pocket listing. Yep. Handyman, contractors, LinkedIn. Yep. Yep. So there's lots of places that you're gonna see properties listed. The other place or area that I want you to consider and look at, yeah, yeah, you could do that too. Is I want you to let people know what you do. Can I ask how many of you have business cards? That's good, good, good. All right, so anybody who doesn't have a business card, why don't you make that your goal for next week? That you want to get a business card. And all your business card, it's up to you what you put on your business card. I've talked about this before. I think simple is better. So, having simply the card, nice stock, your name, because I believe your name is your brand. So let's put your name here, nice and big. We got our email address, and I would put property solutions, something like this, and that's it. That's it. You can put a little bit more if you want, but really your name and your email address is what you want. You can add more information to it. I think you can get 500 for $10 at Vistaprint. Staples offers a similar deal, I believe. So just something in hand, carry it around with you when needed and when appropriate. Share it. You don't need to be overt. It's up to you. You can be overt if you wish. I think that's totally up to you. So I think that networking yourself, and that's one of the topics that we're going to cover this quarter, I think is important. How aggressive you want to be with your networking, up to you. If you folks want, when I talk to the guy that's looking at the site for me, if you want, I can ask him about something like that if you'd like, folks. Creating a site, what it would cost to do some minor marketing. This guy also does, um, uh, on what do they call that? Where they put your page at the top of Google. Uh, what's it? Traffic. You drive traffic to it. I don't know all that stuff. I don't know what the technical name is, but what's it called? Website optimization. I believe it's called something like this. They do that kind of service if you want to pay. Obviously, it costs you money because they're doing it all the time. So, um, landing page, yeah, for a landing page, yeah. If you guys want to look at, um, I can ask him. I could tell him I have some students that maybe want to create a landing page for their business and see what that would cost. He charges by the page, but maybe we can get some kind of group deal. I don't know, honestly, but I can ask. That's obviously if you have a website that's up that they can look at, that's good too. You can do that also. Um, I think that the other end of, maintaining a database, CRM, customer relations management, is another challenge, can be a challenge, staying on top of all that, how quickly you want to market and how big you want to get, how fast you want to get big. There's some options out there, but I think for finding properties, it's a combination of doing lots of different things. One is overt, and the other is passive. And passive would be, handing out your business card, in my view. Passive would be putting up even We Buy Ugly Houses. Passive would be, and you could call that overt. I mean, passive in the sense that you're not walking up to people and saying, "Hey, I do real estate. Look at me." So it's up to you how aggressive you want to be. Whether you consider that passive or not is up to you. But telling people what you do, I think, is pretty important. Putting up, if you want to go with the know lots of wholesalers that they put up We Buy Ugly House signs, or they when they're driving around, they have postcards in their car. They have postcards in their car that when they're driving around, they see a house that's run down or maybe even abandoned. They put that postcard right in the mailbox. They put it right in the mailbox, and it's just a postcard that says, we're new investors in your area. We're interested in your property. Please contact us at this, information. So there's multiple ways. There's multiple ways to do that. We are going to do 2 deals this year. Are you asking me if you're going to do 2 deals this year? Search engine optimization, that's it. I hope that's what you want to do. Is that what you want to do? 1 to 2 deals, I think, is realistic. What do you think? Yeah, for sure. For sure. This is what I want you to keep in mind. Now think about that. And this is why I want urgency, for sure. But think about this. That's 1 every 6 months. It's 1 every 6 months. So there is time to do this right. We want to make sure that we're doing it right. We're doing it safe. Some of you have already bagged your in the last 12 months, you bagged a couple properties. Congratulations, and that's awesome. You want to continue to do that. Yeah, that'd be very realistic, I think. I think it's very, very realistic. It's really about doing it right more than anything. So, marketing yourself and how you market yourself, I think, is an ongoing thing to attract properties. And really, again, your focus is property solutions. So, it's planting, throwing out the seeds, planting the seeds, and not knowing which one's going to grow. That's what business cards are. You hand out the business cards, and people get back to you. And I can't say enough about doing good work with people or treating people right, how big of a deal that is. For example, the guy that I'm talking to for the website just did some work for a friend of mine, business associate with mine, and he did really good work. He talked him up, and he said, "This is the guy," and that was, that's how that happens. Now I'm going to talk to the guy. Now I'm going to do business with the guy, and good work will definitely give you an edge out there in the marketplace. So business card, let's everybody get a business card by next week, and you can post you can post a listing on Kijiji or on Craigslist that basically says We Buy Ugly Houses. You could post, and I'd rather, I think, okay, I'm going to show you something, but I want you to recognize something, that we're not going to make any judgment calls here on anybody, but if you put an ad in Kijiji that says 3, let me show you something, 3 bedroom, 2 bath house, and let's say it's an area that you're interested in. So let's say this area that you're looking at has houses between 2, let's just say 2 to 300. And what you do is you say 3 bedroom, 2 bath house, let's say it's the middle is 250, 225, 225, creative financing available, okay? Now, why would I do that? What am I doing with this ad? I have a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house, 225, great neighborhood. It's a deal. I'm basically publicizing that I have this great deal. What am I doing? There you go. There you go. Either or. But you're finding buyers. You're finding buyers. So for wholesalers, this is a strategy that's used. They say they have a house. Anytime you get a property, folks, anytime you get a property at all, even if you have investment properties now, whatever, post them. Post them. And what you can do is start building a buyer's database based on that. Right? People can call you up and you can say, well, the house is gone. The house is no longer, but if you're looking for a house like this or similar to this, or is there a house that you're looking for? This is what we do. We flip properties or we wholesale properties. Does everybody understand what I'm saying here? Do you see the advantage? You publicize it, and people will call you, right, if it's a good deal. So you just tell them that deal is under contract or it's no longer, but you can attract potential investors and buyers based on that. So that's again a strategy that people use to do that. You post when you find a deal or you post an event before. So this is up to you. If you're uncomfortable with doing that, Miriam, I understand. Some people, are uncomfortable putting out that they have a property if they don't. Some it's a marketing tactic that people use. I'm making no judgments. Yeah, I would never tell you to do something, folks, any of you, that you're uncomfortable with. If it's something that you're uncomfortable with, don't do it. Just do it when you get a house. But if it's a way, this is a way of marketing to buyers, right? And people will reach out to you. I know some of you are going to try this, so why don't you tell us next week how it worked out? Because I know some of you will try this week, and I'm telling you, if the numbers are right, it looks like a good deal. You're going to get people calling you, right? Like you would call, right? You would call. So I think that it'll be interesting. Is anybody going to try it this week? Maybe I'll ask. Is anybody going to try this and maybe give us some feedback next week? Good. Okay. You tell and then we can talk. We can modify it. We can modify it based on your reaction, and see what kind of response you get. And is anybody doing the We Buy Houses or We Buy Ugly Houses ad? Has anybody tried that? What is the bottom line in the sign box? What's the bottom line in the sign box? What's the bottom line in the sign box? You're going to explain that. I know you are. Creative financing available. I'm sorry. Sorry about that. Yeah, creative financing. CF means creative financing available. Or seller financing available. Things like that. Things like that. Yeah. Okay. So that goes to trying to attract, and you're doing all these things, right? So you have an ad like this where you're attracting buyers. You have an ad where we buy. You're attracting sellers. We buy ugly houses. You have the postcards that you can carry around in your car, and if you ever come by a house, you have bird dogs. Does anybody have a bird? Has anybody made a bird dog cart? Anybody, or a flyer or thing? Anybody? Program, bird dog program? Anybody? Okay. Sierra, you got one? Oh, excellent. So all those things combined are gonna create some attractive, activity for you. You're gonna attract some activity for you to see what's what. But all those things combined is what you're really looking for in the way of activity. So, with the bird dog program or bird dog, marketing, it could be a card that you give to people. You could have an ad to find buyers. Yeah. You can actually, when you make your business cards, you can. I don't know if you want to add the bird dog to the back of your card. You could do that. You could of your business card. I don't know if you want to do that. It's up to you, or you can get a few cards. Get your personal cards, plus the bird dog cards. But carrying the bird dog cards and your own card is a great idea. And you might. It's up to you. You might put some pressure on yourself and say, I want to give out 3 business cards this week, or I want to give out a couple bird dog, 2 a week. Those are the kind of things that over time can really be profitable for you and make things happen. What is the difference of the card for the bird dog one? So the bird dog card just explains your bird dog program, $1,000 per lead that we close on. So you're basically telling them that you're going to pay them $1,000 for a lead that you close on. Any lead that we close on will pay $1,000. And what you're asking them to do, which is basically, please, you just take a picture of the property and email or text us, and put an email address and a text number if you want. This is where I want you to send it. And what they'll do is, when they're in their everyday life, if they see a property, they'll take a picture of it. All you're asking for, a picture with the address, of course, a picture of the house with the address. You're good to go. That's all you're looking for. Does that make sense? That's different than your business card itself, which just has your email and whatever it is that you want to put on your business card. I think simpler is a good way to go. But if you feel like you want to put more on it for marketing purposes, obviously have fun with what you're doing. I think the conversation in your name is important. I think that's important. Your name is your brand. We made a card that we leave somewhere from someone to pick up. Yeah, that's good too. Yeah. I think it's a little bit of all these things to market those properties, a buyer and sellers, group, and people interested in you. How many of you are part of a real estate network group, like a network group that you meet? Is anybody part of a network group? Good. That's good. That's another way. Yep. That's good. That's another way for sure. Let people know that the kind of stuff that you do, and they'll reach out to you. But a network group, a real estate network group is not a bad idea either. Um, you know, I would opt for something that's no membership fee or low membership fee. It's really the networking part that you're excited about. I think I would just focus on the networking part. But all these things, if you don't have the time to do one, don't worry about it. Don't do it. It's totally up to you. But all these things are little seeds that need to be planted, and some will root now, some will root later, some you'll hear about years after. So it's really about letting people know what you do when appropriate, right? Good. Okay. So that's how we're going to track properties. There's lots of ways. We can talk more about marketing on a whole call when we just talk about marketing. Right now, I'm going to continue with the questions, but those are good. Those are good ones. Let's see. Let's go here. Let's see. Looking for good. Yep. Questions. Yeah, that's a good idea. Everybody, if you have questions about financing, you can write them down this week and ask Tark when we meet with him next week. Be on the call. Yeah, got that. Okay, so what I'm going to do with the remaining time, which, 1 second, let me see. So with the remaining time, we're going to revisit or talk about the last little bit here about partnerships. I think that was the original spot that we started with. Okay, so what are some of the questions you have for partnerships? Tell me what your questions are, and we'll address them as we go. We have about 10 minutes left. So, and we can continue to talk about that. We can actually get more into that actually when my lawyer gets on the call, and you can talk about contracts and agreements with partners, which he can speak to the legal aspect, which is what you want really. In the way of what, who gets what, I think that one side, there's you, okay? So you, this is you, okay? And investor or partner, whatever you want to call them. Okay, they're on this side. So if you find the property, okay, what should we be looking for in the partnership? Okay, so I think this is the thing I want everyone to keep in mind. Okay, I want you to approach, as much as you feel comfortable with, and you should feel comfortable with, everybody with believing that everyone's on the up and up, everyone's honest, and everyone's being real. That being said, the only way you're going to be able to do that is to have ironclad contracts and agreements. Does everybody understand? If you have a good agreement, nobody can hurt you. Okay? Nobody can hurt you if you have a good agreement. Obviously, your lawyer is going to, your lawyer or legal counsel is going to tell you that. But at the end of the day, your contract is what's going to allow you to work with other people. Okay? Absolutely handshakes. You can make deals that way, but really at the end of the day, the deal is not closed until you have a contract. There has to be an agreement, okay? A physical agreement that both sides sign off on, and I would like you to submit a request that the partner or person you're getting involved with seeks legal advice. And I left a form in that Dropbox that actually is for them to sign that says that you advise them to go get legal advice. So have good contracts. That's how you trust other people, okay? It's a good contract, so you don't have to worry about them hurting you because they can't. So I think you want to approach everybody with that kind of idea of honesty and straightforwardness and transparency. And I think it's more than important to express what you want out of the deal. That being said, we got to understand that you got to ask yourself what everybody's bringing to the table and does it make sense. So to give you an example, if you brought the deal, so this is the deal, what do you think the investor or the partner should get? What are they going to bring to the table? So you bring the deal together. Let's say they bring the mortgage. So they bring the mortgage, they get the mortgage and the down payment. So mortgage and down payment. So they brought that. What do you think they deserve for that? What do you guys think? So you brought the deal. Okay, 50-50. Anybody else? 20-80 for... Do you mean 20 for you and 80 for them? Is that what you mean? Okay. Dave, what are you thinking? So the 40-60 depends on how much management you'll be doing. Okay, sure. That's real. 60-40. Okay, so let's look at the components. Okay, let's look at the components. Okay, so if we're talking about a lease option or any long-term investment with someone, okay? So what are we looking at? Well, we have cash flow and we have capital gains, okay? Cash flow and capital gains. So if we look at cash flow and capital gains, right, as the two things that we're looking at, what should we be doing? So cash flow, should we split the cash flow? Should we split the capital gains? Capital gains means after you sell the property, the profits made in that. I think that if you bring the deal and the person brings the mortgage and the down payment to me, and this is again deal by deal, it needs to be reviewed for sure. 50-50 split doesn't sound crazy to me at all. You found the deal, they're putting up the money, and I understand. If they're putting up the money and getting the down payment, that's something. I don't want to minimize that. But none of it means anything without the deal. And the deal means nothing without the money. I mean, you need the two of these things. But I would consider the deal itself, it is legwork. Yeah, absolutely. I think the deal itself warrants, even though the person's not putting 50% or money in the deal, that they could get, require and say, I want 50%. The other option is, and this is what I want you to keep in mind. So if somebody's not happy with this, right, you can always say to the investor, well, you could be a lender. you know, and I'll pay you so much interest. You could be, you know, if you don't want to be a lender, you could be, let's see, why don't we do this? Let's go. You can give me the mortgage, but I'll put up the down payment, you know, but you're going to get the mortgage. And for that, I'm going to give you a flat fee or some other, you know, there's 100 ways you can do this, folks. There's 1,000 ways you can do this. So I'm just saying that at the end of the day, you know, there's two real components to this game. You know, initially, at least to start with, it's the deal and the money. So you know, just looking at it simplest sense, the deal, you know, we're talking about long-term positions, right? Holding something long-term, a lease option, it could be a you know, just a long-term purchase. It could be a apartment building. 50-50 split is not unheard of or crazy. That's something that definitely you can work out. If this person or this person is additionally doing you know, property management on the property itself, what I would say there, my view, is that for the cost of property management, let's say the cost of property management for this property that we're talking about is, to make it simple for the math, okay? Say it's $500. What I would say is, if your property management is $500 and this person wants to manage the property, then they should be paid $250 as an expense. And this person obviously is getting the $250 for cost. You just split the cost, right? You could, if you wanted to, do the straight 10%, where you say, you know, 10% is what I want, because we'd be paying that to property management. My view is it would have been an equal cost for both of you. If you want to do the property management, let's split that cost together too. I'm more of a leaning towards 50-50 kind of expense and risk and whole thing when someone brings the deal and somebody brings the mortgage or the money, right? If somebody gave you the money, but you had to go get the mortgage, then a 50-50 split, I think it would lean more this way for profitability, because you're getting the mortgage. Okay, if they're just putting up the money, and I don't want to say it like that. I don't even like saying just putting up the money. They're putting up the money is what I should be saying. So they put up the money, you're putting up the mortgage in the deal. You know, they're basically becoming a lender to you. You know, they're basically lending you the money, because you know, it's really, they're just providing the money. Again, I don't want to say just, they are providing the money, which is important. They're providing the money, and I think that they should be paid accordingly. Now, if you're looking at a non-loan split of the deal, that might look more like a 70-30. That's where you might get the 60-40, 70-30, 80-20, depending on the deal itself. But at the end of the day, you can do whatever you want. Example, you could split the cash flow, and you could do a, you know, there you could do a 60-40. You could do, like, I'm going to get ugly right here if I keep doing that. Do you understand what I'm saying to you folks? So you could literally do whatever you wanted. So you could have, so cash flow, let's look at cash flow versus capital gains. You know, I could say, okay, so why don't we do this? On this deal, because you brought the money, and so we, you know, we're going to do 50-50 in the mortgage, 50-50. We're going to do 50-50 on cash flow, 50-50 on capital gains. But let's say they brought the money, and that's all they brought. I don't want to say that's all they brought. They brought the money. You did the mortgage. You did the property. You might say, look, on cash flow, let's split on cash flow. But on capital gains, it's going to be 80-20. You know, or you could say cash flow is going to be, you know, 30-70, and capital gains is 100%. You literally can do whatever you want. You know, I think that I'm a believer that half of something's better than, you know, all of nothing. So really, it's super flexible on what can be achieved when you're working with two people that want to make the deal work, right? That want to make the deal work. Now, if you have somebody, and this has been an ongoing discussion actually the last couple months, if you have an investor from our group that's in a location that you want to invest in, and they're finding properties. You're finding, it doesn't really matter who finds property, but you arrange it. I think there is an advantage to have one of our own um, local, right? Even if they're not managing the property. So we have people in Calgary, we have people in Edmonton, we have people in Vancouver, Victoria, Winnipeg. We have people in Quebec, Montreal, Quebec, the province, Montreal. We have people in Ontario, all over Ontario. We have people in New Brunswick. I mean, there's people everywhere. So I think that you know, I think it's important to recognize the value of having one of your own, and I hope you feel like that with each other. The advantage that you gain from each other, being part of this group, that you could recognize the value of having somebody there that you don't have to be there. Not just a property manager, but someone who has a vested interest, another student, another person part of the family, this family. So I think that there's some really great advantages to that. That all being said, you might not be into partnerships. You might not like it, you might not want it, might not even agree with the numbers that I broke down. Again, I don't want you to understand. I'm not telling you to break down the numbers like this. I'm saying they can be broken down several different ways. I just think it's great to have someone local if you can. If that's the path that you want to take. The other thing I'm going to reiterate, and we're gonna be talking to Adnan, who represents legal needs. He's a lawyer, he's a corporate contract lawyer. He can talk to us about the actual paperwork in reference to partnerships, and looks like he's going to join us not next week. That'll be Tarek the following week. Okay, so we can ask those legal questions. I'll confirm. Tarek's confirmed for next week. He's the financial advisor and money guy. The following week is going to be lawyer Adnan, and I'll confirm with Adnan for next week. I'll let you guys know when we're done next week if that's a go for that. And we can continue working with teams. Now, I know that there's some people that are on this call right now that are realtors, yes? Who's a realtor? Okay. And okay, so this is so this is what we'll do. So, is there any mortgage brokers on the call? Okay, contractors. Okay, good. Accountants, anybody accounting or bookkeeping? Bookkeeping more actually would be better. So this is what I want to do. Okay, we're going to close up the call. This is what I want to do. New Brunswick, okay, yep. Okay, this is what we're going to do. Okay, any questions before we close up? Because what I want to do is I want to stop the recording in a moment. They're going to put up their contact information, and you can reach out to them if you're interested in talking to them about representing you for realtor, mortgage broker, realtor and contractors. Would you like to do that? Yep. Is that a good idea? I think it's a great idea. I do. So let's yeah, good. So let's do this. Any questions? Any questions? We're gonna wrap up. We're good. So everybody, next week, 8:30, same time. Please let people know if they don't know that you know. Make sure if you are connected with other people to let them know. Oh, my pleasure, Miriam. My pleasure. And this is what we'll do. So if you're good, type in yes or Y. Just type in yes or Y. Yep. There. Good. Excellent. Good stuff. Awesome. Okay, good stuff. So everybody has the links now, right? Everybody has the links. They have the link to the YouTube for the videos, and everybody has the link for the Dropbox, right? For the tools and resources. Everybody's got that, right? So here, I'm gonna hold on one sec. I just got it. Oh, you got it? I just got in. Oh, okay, no worries. Here, let me put those up. Right. Let's do this. Hold on one second.